Most people spend their lives searching for the secret that successful people already understand. Yet the secret has never been hidden. It wakes before dawn. It sits quietly while the world rushes. It chooses discipline when comfort whispers. It repeats ordinary actions with extraordinary consistency until those actions quietly become destiny. Look carefully at the tallest mountain. It does not become majestic in a single storm. It rises because the earth has been lifting it for ages. Your life follows the same law. The future you dream about is not built by one brilliant moment. It is carved by the invisible habits that nobody applauds, nobody photographs, and almost nobody notices. Success has never belonged to the loudest voice. It belongs to the person who can command their own mind. This is the greatest battle a human being will ever fight. Not against the world, not against difficult people, not against bad luck. The greatest battle is against the version of yourself that always asks for one more excuse. Every morning, two people wake up inside you. One says, rest a little longer. The other whispers, rise. One says, tomorrow. The other says, now. One wants comfort. The other wants growth. Your future is decided by which voice you feed every single day. Successful people are not free because life is easier for them. They are free because they have learned to stop obeying every emotion that passes through their minds. This is one of the deepest truths you can understand. Feelings change, purpose remains. Motivation comes and goes like clouds across the sky. Discipline becomes the mountain beneath those clouds. The mountain does not argue with the weather. It simply remains. Become like that mountain. Do not celebrate yourself only when you feel inspired. Celebrate yourself when you keep your promise on the days when inspiration never arrives. Anyone can move when excitement appears. Few continue moving when everything inside them wants to stop. That difference creates entirely different lives. Many people imagine that successful people wake up full of confidence every morning. This is a beautiful illusion. Confidence is rarely the beginning. Action is. The person who trains despite self-doubt becomes confident. The person who studies despite confusion becomes intelligent. The person who continues despite failure becomes unstoppable. Action creates belief far more often than belief creates action. Do not wait to feel ready. The seed does not wait until it feels like becoming a tree. It simply breaks apart. There is something beautiful about that. Growth always begins with breaking. The shell breaks. The seed breaks. The old identity breaks. The comfortable routine breaks. Without breaking, nothing truly grows. Yet most people spend their lives protecting the shell instead of nourishing the life hidden inside it. Every successful person understands another silent truth. The quality of your mornings quietly determines the quality of your life. The first hour after waking is sacred. Before the noise, before the opinions, before the endless messages demanding your attention. There exists a small window where your mind is still untouched by the world. Protect that window. Do not hand it to distraction. Do not allow strangers to become the first voices inside your mind every morning. Sit with yourself. Breathe. Observe. Think. Ride something that enlarges your spirit instead of shrinking your attention. Move your body. Strengthen your mind before strengthening your schedule. Because if the world reaches your mind before you reach your own mind, you will spend the entire day living according to someone else's priorities. Silence is one of the forgotten habits of greatness. People fear silence because silence removes every distraction. When the noise disappears, you finally hear yourself. Some people avoid being alone because they are afraid of what they will discover. Successful people intentionally enter silence because they know clarity cannot compete with constant noise. A lake reflects the moon only when its surface becomes still. Your mind works exactly the same way. If your thoughts are constantly disturbed, wisdom cannot appear. The answers you seek often arrive only after the mind becomes quiet enough to receive them. This is why moments of stillness are not empty. They are preparing you. The world measures success by possessions. Wisdom measures success by self-mastery. Owning your emotions is greater than owning expensive things. Directing your attention is greater than directing employees. Conquering your impulses is greater than conquering markets. Because if your own mind controls you, then nothing you own truly belongs to you. The successful person understands that attention is life itself. Whatever receives your attention begins shaping your character. Feed your attention with anger, and anger becomes your identity. Feed it with fear, and fear becomes your prison. Feed it with discipline, patience, and truth, and eventually those qualities become your nature. You are becoming whatever you repeatedly focus upon. This happens whether you notice it or not. Your habits are always teaching your identity. Every repeated action silently says, "This is who I am." If you constantly delay difficult work, you teach yourself that you are someone who escapes. If you consistently keep your promises, even the small ones, you teach yourself that you are trustworthy. Identity is not created by words. It is created by repetition. The greatest transformation begins when you stop asking, "What should I achieve?" Instead ask, "Who must I become?" Achievements come and go. Character remains. Many people chase goals with restless hearts. They imagine happiness waiting somewhere beyond the next accomplishment. But peace has never lived in tomorrow. It lives inside today's discipline. If you cannot find meaning while practicing, success will never satisfy you after arriving. The journey is not separate from the destination. It is creating the person who can carry the destination without losing themselves. This is why successful people rarely become obsessed with quick rewards. They understand the rhythm of nature. The bamboo remains underground for years before rising toward the sky. To the impatient observer, nothing seems to happen. But beneath the surface, invisible roots are spreading deeper every day. When the growth finally appears, people call it sudden success. There is no sudden success. There are only invisible seasons. Do not underestimate invisible progress. A page read today, a workout completed, a promise honored, a temptation resisted, a difficult conversation faced, a distraction ignored. None of these moments seem extraordinary. Yet together they become a completely different human being. Life rarely changes because of dramatic decisions. Life changes because ordinary decisions become permanent habits. Successful people protect their energy with the same seriousness that others protect their money. Energy is the true currency of life. Without energy, knowledge remains unused. Dreams remain unwritten. Potential remains sleeping. Paid attention to what drains your spirit. Constant comparison. Unnecessary arguments. Meaningless entertainment that leaves your soul emptier than before. Endless complaining. Living for approval. These things quietly steal years without making a sound. The wise person notices the leak before the entire vessel becomes empty. Not everything deserves your reaction. Not every invitation deserves acceptance. Not every opinion deserves your attention. There is tremendous strength in choosing not to engage. The strongest tree does not fight every passing wind. It simply continues growing. Your peace becomes powerful the moment it is no longer available to every disturbance. Successful people also understand that the body is not separate from the mind. A tired body creates impatient thoughts. A neglected body weakens determination. Movement is more than exercise. It is a conversation with your own spirit. Every step tells your subconscious that you are alive, awake, and prepared. Every challenge your body overcomes reminds your mind that difficulty is survivable. Weakness often begins in the smallest compromises. One ignored promise, one delayed responsibility, one unnecessary excuse, one careless habit. No collapse begins with the final moment. It begins with tiny permissions repeated over time. The opposite is also true. Strength begins quietly. One honest choice, one disciplined morning, one courageous decision, one moment of resisting comfort. Greatness is never born fully grown. It learns to walk through tiny victories that almost nobody celebrates. This is why humility remains one of the greatest habits of successful people. The more deeply they understand life, the less they feel the need to prove themselves. An empty cup makes more noise than a full one. Real wisdom rarely announces itself. It continues learning. It continues listening. It continues growing. The person who believes they already know enough has stopped evolving. Every sunrise reminds us that life begins again. Yesterday's victories cannot replace today's effort. Yesterday's failures cannot prevent today's growth. Each morning quietly asks the same question. Who will you choose to become today? Not forever. Not next year. Today, because life is never lived all at once. It is lived in this breath, this decision, this hour, this habit. The mind often seeks dramatic transformation because it wants excitement. But nature teaches something entirely different. The river shapes stone not through force, but through persistence. Gentleness repeated long enough becomes unstoppable. Patience repeated long enough becomes power. Discipline repeated long enough becomes freedom. This is the paradox that few people understand. The habits that seem restrictive at first eventually create the greatest freedom. The habit of waking early creates more time. The habit of learning creates more opportunities. The habit of saving creates more choices. The habit of honesty creates deeper relationships. The habit of self-control creates a peaceful mind. Freedom is not the absence of discipline. Freedom is the reward of discipline. The person ruled by every impulse believes they are free. In reality, they become a servant to every passing desire. True free freedom begins the moment your values become stronger than your cravings. Every successful life is built upon thousands of invisible victories over the self. No audience witnessed them. No applause followed them. No reward appeared immediately. Yet those silent victories slowly transformed ordinary people into extraordinary examples of what a human being can become. Perhaps the greatest habit of all is remembering that every day offers another opportunity to begin again. Not because yesterday did not matter, but because today is the only place where transformation can actually happen. Right now, somewhere inside you, the stronger version of yourself is waiting patiently. It has always been there. It does not demand perfection. It asks only for honesty. It asks only for consistency. It asks only that you stop negotiating with the voice that has kept you small for so long. Listen carefully to your own life. Every excuse has a familiar sound. Every dream has a quieter voice. The excuse shouts. The dream whispers. The excuse promises immediate comfort. The dream promises lasting meaning. And every sunrise places both voices before you once again, asking you to decide which one deserves your footsteps as another day begins to unfold, because every path you walk today becomes easier to walk tomorrow. People often believe that habits are chains. They imagine discipline as something that limits freedom, something that steals joy, something that turns life into endless obligation. But look deeper. The chains are not discipline. The chains are the impulses you cannot control. The chains are the distractions that decide your day before you do. The chains are the fears that quietly dictate every choice while convincing you they are protecting you. Discipline is not a prison. It is the key. The person who cannot say no to temptation will eventually hear life saying no to their dreams. Every moment you choose what is right over what is easy, something invisible changes within you. It may not be visible in the mirror. It may not impress anyone around you. But your character notices, your mind notices, your spirit notices. With every promise you keep, you begin trusting yourself a little more. And self-trust is one of the rarest forms of wealth. Many people trust strangers more than they trust themselves. They trust advertisements. They trust opinions. They trust predictions. But when they make a promise to wake early, to study, to train, to remain calm, to speak truthfully, to remain patient, they break that promise without hesitation. Slowly, they teach themselves that their own word carries no weight. Imagine living with someone who constantly breaks every promise they make. Eventually, you would stop believing them. Your mind responds the same way. If you repeatedly betray your own commitments, your subconscious stops believing your intentions. That is why change feels impossible to so many people. Not because they lack ability, because they have spent years convincing themselves that their own words cannot be trusted. Every small commitment you honor rebuilds that trust. Never underestimate the importance of keeping even the smallest promise. If you decide to read for 10 minutes, read for 10 minutes. If you decide to exercise for 20 minutes, complete those 20 minutes. If you promise yourself silence before sleep, protect that silence. Do not measure these actions by their size. Sever them by what they teach your identity. A disciplined life is not built through giant acts of heroism. It is built through quiet agreements that are never broken. There is another habit shared by those who become truly successful. They stop arguing with reality. Notice how much energy disappears when people fight what has already happened. They replay old conversations. They relive old mistakes. They resent old disappointments. But reality remains untouched. The river does not flow backward because someone wishes it would. Acceptance is not surrender. Acceptance is seeing clearly. Only when you accept this moment exactly as it is do you gain the power to shape the next one. Resistance clouds the mind. Acceptance sharpens it. The warrior who denies the battlefield cannot win. The gardener who denies the season cannot harvest. The student who denies their weakness cannot improve. Truth becomes your ally the moment you stop running from it. Successful people develop the courage to face themselves without excuses. They ask difficult questions. Where am I wasting time? Where am I lying to myself? Which habit is quietly stealing my future? What fear am I disguising as logic? What comfort am I calling necessity? Few people ask these questions because the answers demand responsibility. But responsibility is not a burden, it is power. The moment you accept responsibility, you stop waiting for permission to transform. You realize that while you cannot control every event, you can always control the quality of your response. That realization changes everything. Life becomes less about circumstances and more about consciousness. The strongest people are rarely those who have escaped suffering. They are those who have learned to use suffering as a teacher instead of an excuse. Pain arrives in every life. This cannot be avoided. But pain asks a question. Will this experience make you bitter? Or will it make you wiser? The answer is hidden inside your daily habits. If pain pushes you toward discipline, it becomes strength. If pain pushes you toward resentment, it becomes another prison. Everything depends upon what you repeatedly choose after the storm. Think of the ancient tree, standing alone through countless winters. Each season removes another leaf. Each storm bends another branch. Yet every spring, life returns, not because the tree resisted winter, because its roots remain faithful to the earth. Your habits are your roots. The world may shake your branches. People may misunderstand you. Plans may fail. Dreams may be delayed. But if your roots remain deep in discipline, patience, honesty, and purpose, no season can permanently destroy what you are becoming. Do not envy people who appear successful overnight. You do not know what roots they possess, and appearances often deceive. There are people surrounded by luxury who are exhausted inside. There are people surrounded by applause who cannot sleep peacefully. There are people admired by millions who are strangers to themselves. Never confuse attention with fulfillment. Never confuse wealth with wisdom. Never confuse movement with progress. You can run in circles for years and still arrive nowhere. This is why focus has become one of the greatest superpowers in the modern world. Attention is constantly being bought, sold, and divided. Every notification competes for your awareness. Every headline demands urgency. Every distraction promises importance. But not everything that demands your attention deserves your life. A magnifying glass can focus scattered sunlight into enough heat to ignite fire. The mind works exactly the same way. Scattered attention warms nothing. Focused attention transforms everything. Learn to remain with one task, one conversation, one book, one thought, one purpose. Your mind was never designed to live in endless fragments. Peace comes when attention becomes whole again. Successful people also understand the extraordinary value of waiting. The world celebrates speed. Wisdom celebrates timing. There are flowers that bloom in spring and others that bloom in autumn. Neither envies the other. Each unfolds according to its own nature. Your life has its own season. Do not rush what requires maturity. A fruit picked too early may look beautiful, yet it carries no sweetness. Many dreams fail, not because they were impossible, but because they were forced before they were ready. Patience is not passive. Patience is disciplined preparation, while time completes what effort alone cannot. Continue planting. Continue learning. Continue refining yourself. Continue showing up. Even when visible results remain absent. Especially then, invisible seasons are often the most important seasons. Beneath the surface, unseen changes are taking place. Your thinking becomes clearer. Your reactions become calmer. Your standards become higher. Your resilience becomes stronger. Others may not notice. You may barely notice, but one day, the accumulated weight of those invisible improvements becomes impossible to ignore. People will ask what changed. They will search for one dramatic answer. They will call it luck. They will call it talent. They will call it perfect timing. Only you will know the truth. The truth is that transformation happened quietly while no one was watching. It happened every morning you refused to quit. Every evening you chose growth over comfort. Every hour you remained faithful to your purpose despite uncertainty. That is how remarkable lives are built. Not through occasional brilliance, through unwavering consistency. There is also tremendous power in learning to become comfortable with being misunderstood. If your decisions are always controlled by the opinions of others, then your life no longer belongs to you. Not everyone will understand your silence. Not everyone will understand why you wake early. Not everyone will understand why you protect your time. Not everyone will understand why you decline certain pleasures to preserve a greater purpose. That is perfectly natural. The eagle and the fish cannot agree on the meaning of the sky. Your responsibility is not to convince everyone. Your responsibility is to remain aligned with your deepest values. A bamboo does not stop growing because another plant questions its direction. The sun does not ask permission before rising. Nature fulfills its purpose without seeking applause. There is a lesson hidden there. Live in such a way that your actions become your explanation. Words convince for a moment. Character convinces for a lifetime. The quieter your discipline becomes, the louder your results will eventually speak. And perhaps the greatest transformation begins when you no longer chase success to prove your worth. Instead, you pursue excellence because it is an expression of who you choose to become. Then every habit gains new meaning. You do not read simply to know more. You read to deepen your awareness. You do not exercise merely to strengthen muscles. You exercise to strengthen commitment. You do not practice patience because life demands it. You practice patience because your soul deserves it. Everything becomes connected. Every ordinary action becomes sacred. Every repeated choice becomes another stone placed upon the foundation of a life that cannot easily be shaken. As the years pass, people will see the structure. Few will ever understand the foundation hidden beneath it. Yet it is the unseen foundation that carries the visible life. And so each new morning arrives not asking whether the world believes in you, not asking whether circumstances are favorable, not asking whether the path ahead is certain, but asking a far quieter question that only your own heart can answer before the first step is taken. Will you live today as the person your excuses have created, or as the person your purpose has been waiting for? That question does not demand an answer spoken aloud. It asks for an answer written through your actions. Life has always listened more carefully to what you do than to what you say. There will be mornings when your body feels heavy and your dreams seem distant. There will be days when your efforts appear invisible, when progress feels painfully slow, when doubt quietly sits beside you and tries to convince you that none of it matters. Listen carefully in those moments. Those are not signs to stop. Those are invitations to become deeper than your emotions. Anyone can continue when the path is smooth. The extraordinary are revealed when the path becomes difficult. The storm does not create the strength of the tree. It reveals the strength that was growing inside it all along. Every challenge you face is asking the same silent question. What within you is stronger than this moment? If your comfort is stronger, you will retreat. If your fear is stronger, you will hesitate. But if your purpose is stronger, you will continue. That is why purpose must be nourished every day, not once, not occasionally, every single day. Just as the body requires food, the spirit requires meaning. Feed it with truth. Feed it with gratitude. Feed it with learning. Feed it with moments of stillness, where you remember why you began this journey in the first place. Never allow temporary emotions to make permanent decisions. A cloud may hide the sun, but it has never extinguished it. Your clarity may disappear for a while. Your confidence may become quiet. Your strength may feel distant. Yet beneath every passing cloud, your true nature remains unchanged. Return to it, again and again. That is the work. Many people spend years trying to change their circumstances, while ignoring the one thing that creates every circumstance: the person they become each day. Change the habits, and you change the direction. Downfin the direction, and you change the destination. Downfin the destination, and eventually you change the story of your life. No miracle is required. Only consistency, only courage, only the willingness to begin again each time you fall. Do not fear failure. Fear becoming someone who no longer tries. Failure teaches. Delay strengthens patience. Obstacles sharpen wisdom. Loss deepens appreciation. Every experience contains a lesson that can either elevate you or imprison you. The lesson becomes visible only to the person humble enough to receive it. Remember this whenever life disappoints you. The fire that hardens steel is the same fire that melts wax. The difference is not the fire. The difference is what each one is made of. Every disciplined habit strengthens what you are made of. Every honest decision reinforces your foundation. Every moment of self-control reminds your spirit that you are capable of leading your own life instead of being led by impulse. There comes a day when discipline no longer feels like effort. It becomes your nature. Choosing wisdom becomes easier than choosing distraction. Keeping your word becomes easier than making excuses. Remaining calm becomes easier than reacting. Serving your purpose becomes more satisfying than chasing comfort. This is the quiet reward that cannot be purchased, inherited, or borrowed. It must be earned, slowly, mitly, faithfully. And once it is earned, no one can take it from you. Not success, not failure, not praise, not criticism. Because your peace is no longer built upon circumstances. It is built upon character. Imagine looking back at your life many years from now. The achievements will matter. The memories will matter. But perhaps what will matter most is knowing that you did not betray the person you were capable of becoming, that you answered the call hidden inside your own heart, that you refused to let fear write your story, that when comfort invited you to remain ordinary, you quietly chose growth instead. You do not need to become someone else. You need to uncover the strength that has always existed beneath your hesitation. The sculptor does not create the statue. The statue already exists inside the stone. Every strike of the chisel simply removes what does not belong. Your daily habits are that chisel. Every act of discipline removes a little more doubt. Every moment of patience removes a little more fear. Every choice of focus removes another layer of distraction. Every commitment honored reveals a stronger version of yourself that was waiting beneath the surface all along. Do not compare your pace with anyone else's. Some journeys require longer roads because they are preparing stronger souls. Your responsibility is not to arrive first. Your responsibility is to never stop becoming. Walk steadily. Walk honestly. Walk with humility. Walk with courage. There is profound dignity in a person who quietly improves every day without demanding recognition. Such a person carries an invisible light, not because life has spared them from hardship, but because hardship has become the very place where their wisdom was born. Become that light, not to outshine others, but to illuminate your own path and quietly encourage those who have forgotten that they, too, possess the strength to rise. In the end, success is not measured only by what you build. It is measured by who you become while building it. The greatest victory is not standing above other people. It is standing above the weaker version of yourself that once believed discipline was impossible. Focus was unattainable. Patience was weakness. And change could wait until tomorrow. Tomorrow has never transformed a life. This breath can. This choice can. This step can. So when the sun rises again, do not ask whether the world will give you another opportunity. Ask whether you will honor the opportunity that has already been placed in your hands. Rise before your excuses. Guard your attention as you would guard your future. Strengthen your body, steady your mind, and purify your intentions. Speak less, observe more, profirsham less, fulfill more, dick less approval, and more truth. Return to your habits when motivation disappears. Return to your purpose when the path becomes uncertain. Return to your inner silence when the world becomes loud. And day after day, without needing permission, without waiting for perfect conditions, without surrendering to temporary weakness, continue shaping yourself into someone whose greatest achievement is not fame, wealth, or recognition, but complete mastery over their own mind. Because the person who conquers the world may still live in fear, but the person who conquers themselves walks through every season with unshakable peace. That is the highest success. That is the deepest freedom. That is the quiet power that no circumstance can steal. And that journey begins as it has always begun, with the next small habit, the next honest choice, the next disciplined step, and the unwavering decision to become, one day at a time, the strongest version of yourself.